Hi everyone, this is Jacqueline Sinfield, the ADD coach, and I'm here at the CHADD conference in Florida, and I'm super excited because we've got Patrick here, and he is from Totally ADD, and you've probably seen the documentary. We're big fans of it, and so here's Patrick.
Hello.
So thank you for joining us, Patrick. And so what we'd like to ask Patrick is, he's doing something he's really talented about, which is being really funny and being on TV, and you bring that naturally. And that's what we'd like to talk to you about, is having ADD and doing what you love and what you're naturally good at.
Well, the nice thing about it is it takes a long time, because oftentimes it's labeled as a distraction when you're a child, or that you're being a bad person for thinking that way, or just being as gregarious as I was. And it took a long time to kind of celebrate that. So when you got into acting, it's great. People kind of reward you for those type of things. And some people who don't go into a field where you get to celebrate, show off, experiment with your ideas, that gets frowned upon, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So their image of themselves gets smaller and smaller, what they're allowing themselves to do, how they should think. So suddenly they're editing their own thoughts to please other people who are already having those thoughts. So nothing is expanding. That's almost why you are in the room, is because you bring the color to it. You think outside the box that other people have created already. So sometimes people, when they start to deny who they are, they start living a life that isn't real. But if they step forward and embrace the ADD, it's fantastic, because suddenly you're allowed to run with your ideas. Think outside that box. Challenge other people's ideas who maybe haven't thought that way, where they can start feeding into your ideas. And you don't have to carry all the weight by yourself. This will spur conversation, spur creativity. So some people who are CEOs who are afraid to admit who they are in the situations, thinking that people might look on that as a disability. Maybe that's why you're the CEO. You thought outside the box. You were willing to take the chance that other people weren't willing to take. And you had the stamina to follow it up. And you've hired people who are strong enough to make sure there's a follow-through. And that's a big part of it. Sometimes maybe you don't have to do all the work yourself. Hire people who can do that for you. You got all the ideas? Great. Hire an accountant to take care of the books. There's loads of ways to be creative and still be in charge of something you want to be without always having to follow someone else's lead. That's the big thing I found.
Okay, so rather than hide your ADD, love it and love who you are and love what you're doing in life, and then you'll be the best that you can be.
That's what I find. I mean, there's some people who will lead a different way completely, but
the
more you embrace in any situation, the more you celebrate who you are, the stronger you'll be all the time.
Wonderful. And one more question. When you were on stage earlier, you were talking about the relationship with yourself. Mm-hmm. Could you talk briefly about that?
The relationship with yourself with ADD is one that takes a long time to get over. My generation, that wasn't diagnosed right away. It was always, again, negative reinforcement versus positive. So once you can kind of come to terms with who you are, and that if you get diagnosed and you do indeed have ADD or ADHD, to acknowledge that, accept it, and move forward with it, to have a relationship with yourself, to forgive yourself for the past that you feel maybe you could have had or should have had and were never told, so therefore you lived a life unexamined. That was yesterday. This is now. You do have the information now. Mm-hmm. That's the relationship you got to get with yourself, is forgiveness and celebration. And a lot of people as adult ADDers have so much guilt and shame and remorse for the life they missed. And I completely get that, because I went through that myself. But the opportunity becomes, what a great day today is now then, because I do know. Mm-hmm. And that relationship with yourself allows you to input to the community a lot stronger than you would, because you're always afraid and a little bit embarrassed that you might mess up. And people always told you would mess up, and sure enough you did, because you met the expectations that everybody else framed for you, versus being who you are and just going for it. Mm-hmm. And that is so freeing to yourself. And to suddenly you're meeting different types of people who come into your life, be it a spouse or a workmate, a chum, that suddenly you just have a different communication with, because you're being your true self. And you're having a deeper relationship on every level with yourself, with this new person, with your children, with your work environment, with your car. Everything changes once you start to acknowledge who you are and how you fit in that environment.
Okay, so before you go, I think you might have said it already, but we work with entrepreneurs with ADHD. They have their own businesses. So what's your best tip?
Best tip for an entrepreneur I find that has their own business is you don't have to carry all the pipe. Hire people who do these things stronger than you do, and you do what you do best. If it's a problem, ignore the problems, focus on the opportunities.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay. Great. I hope it helps.
Oh, it will. Thank you.